Hello everyone, I'm Mekkah, and as promised, here is part 2 of the guide to the Fire Emblem 8 Nintendo Power Unit Guide, or Class Guide. This is the Class Guide. We did the Unit 1 in part 1, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But here's part 2, and this is the Class Guide. Now, a Class Guide on its own is already a very flawed concept, and I'm going to explain why, in my opinion, that's the case. So, we just spent a couple pages talking about every unit individually, and now we're going to talk about all classes, but not the enemy classes. We're not going to talk about like how to handle specific enemies. We're going to talk about playable units in certain classes. So it's going to talk about like all of your archers or all of your assassins or all of your berserkers. And that's kind of dumb. For one, because a lot of the classes in this game are only represented by one, maybe two playable units, because this class is kind of small, so you don't really get a whole lot of the same class. So for example, if you want to talk about all the pirates in this game, you only really talk about Ross, or if you want to talk about all the archers, you really only talk about Trainee. So anything you say here should either apply to Trainee, in which case it should have just been mentioned in the Trainee guide, you don't really need to say it twice. Or if it doesn't apply to Trainee, then why are you mentioning it? Because you only have one playable archer. If it doesn't apply to Trainee, then who the hell are you talking about? So it makes no sense no matter which way you spin it. And then the other problem I have is that this encourages people to fall into that pitfall of using one of every class or one of every weapon type, when really you should just be comparing their statistics straight up. And if that means you end up using 2 Wyvern Knights or 2 Paladins or something, that's completely fine. You don't need a different class, you don't need every unit to fill a different niche. Fire Emblem units can be compared directly, you don't need to sort them into classes or weapon types, but I've been over that plenty of times. Now, the Youthful Unit blurb right here, the Youthful Units blurb, that's a pain to pronounce. During your quest, you'll be able to recruit Ross the Journeyman, Ewan the Pupil, and Emilia the Recruit. I'm so tired of talking about Emilia, but, you know, we're gonna have to get there. During your quest, you'll be able to recruit these. They will be very weak when you find them, but you'll have more freedom than the other units in how you promote them to higher classes. Fine so far, but then, arenas and extra maps are a good place for them to earn experience. Extra maps, yes, that's a good way to grind trainees if you're into that. Arenas, hell no. When you go into the arena, you get handed an iron weapon of your highest weapon rank. So in the case of Ross, that means he gets an iron axe, which weighs him down a lot. And I actually tried this out because I was curious if the guide was right or wrong. And it turns out, if you put Ross in the arena, he gets an iron axe, he gets doubled by a lot of things. And I'm not talking about like mercenaries or myrmidons, I'm talking about like pirates and fighters. They double him, they 1-round KO him. It's terrible. His hit rate is awful. He can lose 1v1 versus almost everything. Like, I think I tried like 6 different fights, he got doubled in half of them, and I didn't fight any sword users, so don't put your trainees in the arena. Bad advice, bad guide. Special skills is also interesting, I'll say. It has like a list of all the skills different classes can have. Assassin has, of course, Silencer, enables a 50% chance to strike a one-hit critical. Assassins will gain experience ×2. Ladder 1 sentence is fine. It kind of reads as if it says 50% of the time your assassin will get a super hit knockout KO thing, super strong, like great. But really it's half of the time that they critical, they assassinate, and this is what makes Silencer so weak, is that when you crit, you usually get a kill anyway. So it doesn't really add to your damage output much, but it kind of reads differently. I don't know if they intended to say that or not, because when I read the Jafar entry last time of in the FE7 guide, it kind of, they thought his critical hit was way higher than it really was. The Bishop one is fine, the Dance one is fine. General is kind of funny. Great Shield makes General immune to all attacks except sleep and poison. Sleep is not an attack, poison is not really an attack, so I guess what they mean is when he gets Great Shield on a poison weapon, he still gets poisoned, and that's fine. But then sleep can't be inflicted by weapons, it's inflicted by like status staves, and if you're gonna mention status like that, you should also mention, like I feel like you should mention Berserk and Stone, for example. So I don't know why they only chose to mention sleep and poison. Like, I feel like if you're gonna make a guide that's very brief and only has like a few lines, a few sentences for everything, you should at least make sure that those sentences are either complete, or at least it says, like, for example, instead of except sleep and poison, nothing else. Maybe that's just me being very picky, but I think you should be more precise when you write a guide. Sniper, Sure Strike, makes hit rate 100%. Also not true. It's it does make your hit rate 100%, but this is a skill that procs based on your level. It's like level percent, so you could say that 10% of the time it works every time if you're level 10. So it's a very, very tiny reliability boost, and not really worth going with a Sniper for if you have the choice. So maybe you shouldn't go Sniper, but I think most people know that. The other skills are all fine, just wanted to nitpick those. So keep in mind what I said about the rest of the guide, that these really do not make sense. You never control a generic archer or a generic assassin. You're always controlling certain characters that belong to certain classes, and those characters are pretty different overall, and anything you want to say about them should have been in the freaking unit guide. So this is a very unnecessary guide, I would say. But they did it anyway, so let's go through it. Archer. Archers are ranged basic units that can only use bows. They're good for attacking over walls and commandeering ballistas. I say ballistas, I think it says ballistae, whatever. This is fine, but you know, Naemi is the only archer in the game, so could have just talked about Naemi. Assassin. Masters of the killing arts. Assassins have a high chance of striking a critical blow. No, they don't. Their defensive abilities, however, are weak. Yes, they are. Berserker. Berserkers are great frontline units and can move across mountain peaks. They can wield only axes. Sure, I mean, it's only Raz and Dazla, but I can't really fault them for this description. Bishop. Bishops are the best healers in the game and have a relatively high defense. They will need protection though on most maps. This is... I don't even really know where to start with this, because this game has a lot of different bishops. You got Mulder, who starts as a priest but then promotes to a bishop. You got Natasha, who starts as a cleric and then promotes to a bishop. You got Archer, who can promote into a bishop. Well, they all have a choice, of course, but these are like their optimal paths, I guess. So Archer, Mulder, Natasha, and you've got Reeve if you count him. So some of these don't have relatively high defense. Natasha's defense absolute trash. Archer's definitely not that good. Mulder is like okay for a priest, I suppose, like higher than you'd expect, but it's still pretty bad. And Reeve, I don't remember his offhand, but it's not that great. So again, this is the problem when you talk about classes in general instead of individual units. You can't really say anything about all of these because they're all kind of different. And also, best healers in the game. I'm not even sure what this is supposed to refer to. Bishops do not have the highest magic cap out of all the staff using classes. For example, Sage has a higher magic cap, so they can't possibly mean that. And the bishops also aren't the classes, like the characters that are bishops also don't have the highest of magic out of everyone. Like Lute, for example, has more magic than all of these units combined, pretty much. Well, not combined, but you get what I mean. So why are they the best healers in the game? This is something, like, if you're going to make this claim, you should probably elaborate on it. I know they don't really have the space to it, but then don't make that claim. That's just weird. Cavalier. Cavaliers are well-rounded mounted units with good fighting and movement abilities. Well, no, they're not well-rounded, they're freaking broken, but alright, I'll give them a pass. They're also good at rescuing units. Sure, let's go with it. Cleric. There's only one cleric. Clerics are low-level holy women with the ability to use healing staves. They will need protection at all times. Sure, Natasha needs protection at all times. Could have just talked about it with Natasha. Dancer. A dancer can revitalize an ally, allowing her to move twice. So, can she only dance for female units, or does Tethys get to move twice when she dances? I am so confused. Dancers cannot attack and are vulnerable to most enemy attacks. Sure. Like, I don't know why this hit her. I think Dem would have been a better choice. Druids. Wielders of deep and ancient magic. Druids are masters of dark magic attacks. You know, for how short this entry is, they really could have mentioned that they can also use anima or staves. I mean, I know it says it in the thing above, but if you're gonna say they use dark magic, why not just mention it? Falconites. Falconites are well-rounded flying units with great movement and magic resistance. They are vulnerable to bows. I wouldn't really use well-rounded, considering that's also what they use for Cavalier. Falconites are definitely known for having, for example, bad defense. But other than that, sure, fine. Fighter. Fighters generally have great attack but poor defense. They are axe wielders that will serve well on the front line early on. Like, this kind of entry just pretends that there are many different fighters in your army, but the only fighter you have is Garcia and Ross if you promote him to fighter. So, again, what does this really add to a new player's understanding of the game? Like, I mean, Ross's defense doesn't really change all that much when he promotes the pirate anyway, so I don't know, like, this is why I don't like this guide very much. It's okay, I guess, but I don't think, like, poor defense isn't even, like, really a trait you could say about Garcia. I think his defense is fine. It's, like, it's not, like, he's not Gilliam, but he's also not, like, Natasha. He's, like, right in between. It's, like, average. And his HP is really good, so he's pretty good on the front line, like they say. General. Generals are skilled knights with great attack power and excellent defense. They are slow-moving and susceptible to magic attacks. I'm okay with this. Like, can't really say anything wrong with it. Great Lord / Erica. So even here they like acknowledge it, that it's like, this is actually Erica. We're talking about Erica. Like after chapter 16, Erica will change from Lord to Great Lord. A mounted unit that can use more powerful swords. This was pretty much mentioned in our Erica entry, the last I remember. So why do we need to have this in the guide? Same for Ephraim. It's basically the same entry, except with lances instead of swords. Great Knight. Great Knights have high movement and defense, and can use all weapon types except bows. They are solid frontline units. High movements, they have 6. So if you're going to say these have high movements, then we have to say that about like half the classes. So I'm going to say no to this. I suppose they wanted to refer to their ability to move again, but then no. If you say they have high movement and you have a stat called movement that says 6, I'm going to call bullshit. Hero. Heroes are well-rounded units with great attack power and defense. They have the ability to move freely across water. Well, the Berserker entry, if you remember, it said they can move across mountain peaks. It didn't say anything about water. They actually have better movement across water than heroes, so... I know heroes can cross like rivers, but they definitely cannot cross oceans, so that's a big fat no. Journeymen. Journeymen are basic fighters that will change classes automatically at level 10. They, not him, not he, they are very weak and can equip only axes. Just, no. Like, just make a Ross entry that's good. Knights. Knights are slow moving, but will serve as good protectors early on. They have the ability to withstand strong attacks. Okay. Lord / Erica. Erica is initially a little weak with swords, but you can level up quite easily. Her class change will be available after chapter 16. We already knew this. This is useless. Ephraim has good initial defense and speed, and is powerful with the lance. His class change will be available after chapter 16. Okay, nice extra Ephraim entry. Mage. Mages have poor defense and HP, but will serve well for indirect attacks. Mages can become very powerful magic wielders. Okay. Don't really have a big issue with this. Let's see, there's Lute and there's Ewan, and I think that's pretty much it for mages, potential mages anyway. I guess they can both become powerful potentially, so sure. Mage Knights. Mage Knights are mounted magic wielders with good movement. They can use powerful long-range magic, but have low defense. I don't know if the long-range magic is supposed to refer to bolting or just their high mobility, but either way it's fine. They do have low defense, most of the time. Manicheets. Manicheets are dragons that can attack only with a dragonstone. They are not versatile, but are very powerful against monsters. I'm gonna stop making fun of the part that, like, there's only one Manicheet, because you guys get the point probably, but as I'm going on, I'm sure you can see why I have such a problem with this. And yeah, they are very powerful against monsters. Myr is very powerful against monsters. Mercenary. Mercenaries are well-balanced fighting units with great potential. They are able to use only swords until they change class. Yeah, that's mercenaries. Very well balanced, sure. Monk. Monks have poor defensive skills and can use only light magic. They have the potential to become powerful magic wielders. Powerful! We get into a powerful streak now, just watch. We already had one of Mage Knight with like powerful, so we're gonna keep going. Powerful. Myrmidons are powerful swordsmen who specialize in critical attacks. They have a low defense early on. I usually use powerful to describe like things with high strength, and Myrmidons definitely don't have high strength, but you know, they use powerful for just about everything, so I can't really make that a kind of assumption, can I? Paladin. Paladins are the best melee units. Ooh, I like this guide now. Never mind all the bad things I said about it. With great attack strength, defense and movement, they will move slowly over some terrain. Hey man, don't be mad about my paladins like that. They still move like roughly the same as most other units if you have like a bit of forest and mostly plain tiles, but that's nitpicking. I get what they mean. They take pretty heavy terrain penalties. Sure, give it a pass. Pegasus Knights. Pegasus Knights are basic flying units. They are great for rescuing, but are very weak to bows. Okay, fine. Phantom. Summoned only by summoners, a Phantom is a disposable unit that can move across any terrain and can be used to distract enemies. Probably the best description so far. Pirates. Pirates have the ability to move freely across water. Oh, so just like heroes, except more so. Like, if you phrase it the exact same, it sounds like they're the exact same, but pirates are much better at crossing, like, well, for example, oceans. They're infinitely better at crossing oceans, because heroes cannot cross oceans. If you're gonna make a guide, make it, like, good. Anyway, they're good with axes, but they generally have low defense, sure. I would still say their durability is on average better than most people, but then again, this is only about Ross. But I said I would shut up about that, so let's move on. Priests. Priests use staves to heal and restore allies. They have very weak defense and require constant protection. It's funny that they keep mentioning poor defense because besides like general knights, great knights, maybe paladins, things like that, most of the time, most classes have low defense because defense is a pretty OP stat if they have more than just a bit decent of it. Like if enemies think you're pretty bad. So they're going to mention that poor defense quite a bit. In fact, we're mostly through the ones that have mentioned it, but it comes up a lot because, you know, there's a lot of classes that should have poor defense. Pupil. Pupils are magic users in training. They have poor defense, there you go, and attack power, but they have the potential to be very powerful. Okay, we'll give it a pass. Ranger. Rangers are great backline units with solid movements and the ability to use both swords and bows. I like it. I actually like this entry. Great backline is kind of weird for a mounted unit, but I get what they mean. You should hide your bows behind your front line. Recruits. Female soldiers training to be knights. Recruit will be very weak initially. Level them up to unlock their potential. Yeah, we all know how that goes. Rogue. Their attack power and defense aren't great, but rogues can pick locks and see a great distance through fog and darkness. An apt description. I like it. Sage. Great all-around magic wielders. Sages can use 2 of the 3 magic types. Like most magicians, they have a low defense. They can also use staffs, by the way. But, okay. Shamans. Shamans are the alternative to mages, specializing in the dark arts. Their magic is strong, but they have poor movement. Huh? Their movement is 5, like it even says so in the guide. Why are you saying they have poor movement? They don't take more drain penalties, so... I don't really get who came up with this. Sniper. Snipers are the most powerful bow wielders in the game. They cannot use any other weapons. Well, that's sure powerful if you can't use any other weapons, but hey. They got Sure Strike, I guess. That's really powerful. They really aren't the most powerful. Don't use Sniper. Use Ines, I guess. He's okay. Summoner. Summoners are masters of the dark arts. So just like what is it? What else had that description? This is very familiar. Was it Shaman? Oh yeah, it was Druids. Druids are masters of the dark magic attacks. Okay, fair enough. So we're just gonna use the same thing twice. Well, at least you're not using powerful. Where was I? Oh yeah, they can summon phantoms, which are great for luring enemies. Yeah, the rest is good. Sword Masters. Sword Masters are very powerful units, really, and lethal with a sword, but fare best in one-on-one battles. Yeah, they're like specialized units, I guess. You should only train one, guys. Only one Sword Master. Thief. When a lockpick is in a thief's inventory, he can pick locked doors and chests. Thieves can also see further in fog of darkness. Fog and darkness, not fog of darkness. What the hell is fog of darkness? But yeah. I like it. Troubadour. Troubadours are great for moving long distances to use healing and status restoring staves. Their low defense makes them vulnerable. Alright, fine. I mean, I wouldn't call 6 movement a lot, but then again, they did, so. Valkyrie. Valkyries are maidens with the ability to wield both light magic and staves. Their good movement range makes them great healers, but not the best healers in the game, because that's bishops. Warrior. Slow moving warriors have a high defense. No, I disagree. And the ability to use bows, making them a unique unit. Ooh, unique. But is it powerful? I don't know. Also slow moving. I do think that warriors on average are slower than most classes, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they meant their actual speed and not their movements, because they wouldn't make that mistake again. Also, I luckily enough I noticed this. Look at the caps, like 16 max HP, 4 max strength. I think they used the class bases here, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or they just took something else, but their class caps are definitely not this low. Wyvern Knights. Wyvern Knights have excellent movement and are great attackers. They cannot participate in a triangle attack, however. This is wrong. If you promote your Pegasus to Wyvern Knight and you initiate the triangle attack and everyone else involved is a Falcon Knight, it works just fine. So that's bullcrap. They probably just didn't try. Wyvern Lord. Wyvern Lords are the strongest flying units in the game, with their massive range, brutal attacks, and strong defense. It is true that Wyvern Lord gives Cormac, because that's the only person in your army who can become a Wyvern Lord. It gives him more defense in exchange for more speed. So not the worst thing. But I wouldn't say they're the strongest flying units in the game, because, you know, Wyvern Knight is better. But that's just nitpicking. And then finally we have Wyvern Rider. Wyvern Riders have impeccable movement range. They are vulnerable to magic and bow attacks. Can't really say much wrong with that. It's pretty much what all games use to describe. weapon variants. So yeah, that's it for the class guide. And overall thoughts, unnecessary. Like a lot of these descriptions are like for a single unit, so why did you have to make this guide? Like the Erica and Ephraim guide, what the fuck is the point of those? So in addition to the class guide to playable classes, they also made one for, I think it's meant to be enemy classes, because this page is like extra battles creature campaign, so I think it should be about the post game, either that or it's about enemy only classes. I think it's the latter. It would explain why they have bandit on here, but not thief, because thieves are existing in the post game, and I don't think bandits do. But at the same time, I still think it's kind of strange, but I get what they were going for. Then I gotta wonder though why soldier isn't here if they were doing enemy only classes. Like the introduction kind of makes it seems like they're going for enemies that appear in monster maps, but then the bandit is just horribly out of place. And again, I gotta wonder why they didn't mention thief, but I guess they already went over thief, maybe that's why. But I find it a very confusing classification, like I don't really understand. Anyway, I'm not gonna go over all of these because honestly most of them are fairly decent advice. They're definitely not the only way to tackle these monsters. They kind of pretend like do it like this. It's the best way, but it really isn't that big of a deal. I will say that some of the entries are kind of funny. The bandit one, the bandit problem I pretty much went over, but there's a couple more I want to point out to you. So Bone Walker. Bone Walkers are skeleton foot soldiers. They are usually easy to defeat, but have a tendency to swarm your units. Bone Walkers carry a variety of weapons. Check their inventory, as some carry ranged and poison armaments. Is that a word? Wow. Armaments that can catch you off guard. So, poison, is that really what you want to be caught off guard by? I guess it's annoying when you die to like poison weapons, but then again, poison weapons are just so weak that the lowered might that they have completely compensates for the poison damage and then some. So I just find it funny that they mentioned this here. Now that alone would be kind of, strange, but then if you get to the white entry, it says, like Bone Walkers, whites have a variety of abilities. Their movement range is higher than Bone Walkers. They will usually wield more powerful weapons, like killing edges and poison bows, the most powerful of poison bows. Oh no, like, do you want to know how much might a poison bow has? I'm gonna look it up right now. Poison bow has a massive 4 might and 65 hit, so it's 2 might less than an iron bow, and it has 20 less hit. What a very threatening weapon a poison bow is. Check a white's inventory and deal with it appropriately. The only other entry I want to talk about for a little bit is the Entombed. Entombed are much stronger versions of Renovants. They have much higher HP, and their attacks and ability to connect are greater. Like their weaker counterparts, Entombed are vulnerable to like magic. Well, technically they're vulnerable to Slayer. I guess they're going for like bishops. Stronger melee units should have no problem using conventional weapons to deal with the Entombed. So the issue I have, it's a very slight nitpick though, I'll be honest. Their ability to connect are greater. Entombs have very shit skill, just like the Renovants, the unpromoted versions of these. I looked at some samples and I had the skill difference is like sometimes the Renovants have more skill, and the Entombed usually use weapons that are less accurate. So it's actually the Renovants that are more accurate. But in the grand scheme of things, nobody is really gonna get screwed in FE8 as a new player by this kind of description. Like, this is just the general monster description. I shouldn't be too harsh on it. The class guide, though, definitely do not like. So, overall, I like this guide much less than the FE7 guide. And I would definitely not recommend this to any new player. Except people who like... I mean, it has some of the bare basics correct, but you're also introducing misconceptions. And once someone has learned a misconception and like ingrained it into their head, it's so tough to get it out of there. I tried it with several fans, and some people, they just will not learn. They've got the way that things are ingrained in their head, and it's very tough to fix those. So yeah, not a big fan of misconceptions, as you might already know. So not a big fan of this guide. So let me know what guide you want me to do next. I have the FE9 guide sent to me by a couple of people, and then the FE10 guide as well, but that one is a lot more, shall we say, it's not as wordy. It doesn't have descriptions for every single unit, and the descriptions are pretty short. So personally, I feel more like the FE9 one. I forgot how bad it is. I think it's fairly bad. So I'll probably do that one next. I don't know if there's any others. Everyone who responded to my call to send me things has done FE9 and FE10. I don't have any others yet. So if you do have them, let me know, and maybe send me some scans. Might want to check with me before you're going to make pictures and go through a lot of trouble, because I did have like many different people come up to me with different guides. Or the same guide rather, which is the problem. It's not a problem for me, but like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to go through all the effort only to not see them in the video because like 10 other people already sent in the guide. So if you have a guide somewhere lying around, a paperback guide that you'd like me to take a look at, then let me know and I'll let you know if I already have it. You can contact me on Discord or send me a PM on Reddit if you want. So thank you for watching, have a good time, and I hope I get the powerful count right. See you guys around, bye! Powerful unit.